about 6 years ago and down in Pensacola, and I got a little cocky because with Dino I pulled 7.7 Gs. I mean, he went up, he went on inverted, corkscrew, all that stuff, and I got a chance to do it again. And of course, we were out the night before, had a big dinner, and I had 2 or 3 martinis, which was a huge mistake. You can imagine the results once you're in the 7G category. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. Well, let's talk about what you came here to share with us, because you are certainly the expert.
Sure.
First of all, tell us how many storms you've covered, and tell us of all the storms you've covered, which one stands out most?
Debbie, okay, which I was in Charleston for, was my 112th tropical system.
112.
Okay, I started back in 1992 with the second landfall of Andrew, where I went to Baton Rouge to cover that storm. Now, back then, there was no, backpacks or live view, and you could just be wherever you wanted to be. You had to have a satellite truck, you had to protect the satellite truck, you had to do that sort of thing. But, we went on that night, the storm had stalled over the bayou. Next morning, about 4 o'clock in the morning, my air conditioner unit blows in my room, and I'm looking out 16 floors down below, and here's this air conditioner just sitting in my room. So I call my producer, I'm like, Simon, we gotta go live. And of course, ever since then, I've been hooked about, not only just telling about the weather, but also being a part of it, being in it, and, just talking about how electric it is. So that was a memorable number one. But I got to tell you, it was obviously Katrina. Katrina was the big one. I was gone for 17 days. A lot of you remember that it started in Florida, okay? Came through the Bahamas, came into Broward County, was developing as it was moving across the state. So there's something dynamically going on with this storm. And the next day, once we got through with our Broward County coverage, we went up all the way up to Mississippi. And we had to drive. So we were exhausted going into the worst part of this. And I'm on the Mississippi coast. You've got all the casinos out over the water. It's the weekend now. It's a beautiful sunny Saturday. We've got a Cat 5 now between us and Key West. And it's like, nobody's getting the message. I'm like, why isn't this area just evacuating? Because they're going to get demolished. Storm surge forecast, 20, 25 feet, 25 to 30 feet. Just crazy numbers with the storm surge. And so the mayor, A.J. Holloway, comes down to me. I was in Biloxi at the time. He goes, Jim, you're scaring all of us. Really? You got to get these people out of here. This is horrible. This is going to be terrible. And after the storm came through, I never forgot it, because it's like the first time that you deal with seeing death, smelling all that. We were out there for 17 days. We were sleeping in our vehicles. But of course, what helps is knowing that a lot of people have it a hell of a lot worse. So you can't feel sorry for yourself. But that was the mission. We accomplished it. Katrina, again, remember, for Mississippi, was the natural disaster. The man-made disaster was New Orleans, so you had that going on at the same time. And that one, I'll just never forget for a multitude of reasons.
Right?
Yes, the multiple levee failures.
Yeah. So you and I talked about this. There's been a lot of chatter about a Cat 6.
Yes.
We scare ourselves enough with a Cat 5. So what are your thoughts about it?
So this got brought up again last year. And this is really my biggest fear for everybody. So we had a storm named Hurricane Otis. It was in November of all. And it came into Acapulco. It remains the strongest hurricane to ever hit a large city in North America of over 1 million people or more. And it devastated that city. But it was supposed to be a tropical storm. All of a sudden it blows up in a hurricane. So these rapidly developing late season storms scare me the most. Because so many things are changing in the atmosphere dynamically as we get the jet stream coming back south now. But, it came in at 165 miles an hour, which is crazy. So Cat 5 starts at 157. And we've had storms like Irma, 185 sustained. So the argument was, listen, we need another category. Should we have something that starts at maybe 175 or 180 and goes to 200? And that was, they said no, because once we get above 157 miles an hour or greater, the damage is going to be catastrophic. Catastrophic is catastrophic. To add another category is just to add another category. So at this point, that's not being done. Plus, that's about all the atmosphere can give us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? 185, 200 with gusts of 240, 250 miles per hour.
Can you imagine?
Just crazy, crazy stuff.
And I know we have something it's only going to
Yeah.
be fun to show because it was.
Right. What would it be like to stand
Right.
in a Category 6
Now,
hurricane?
if I can, before you start this, I got to pull over here and park and tell you just a really quick funny about my husband. Now that I know Jim, I admire, my respect level is through the roof. But we've spent years in my house, and I bet some of you have done the same thing when you're watching him out there, and you're thinking, you're like, I'm sorry.
No, but take your time.
We're going to get to this. Hey, you're going to die out there. Like, what are you proving out there by holding on and you're about to lose your life? And so my husband and I had fun with that, like, somewhat chuckling a little bit. But you have a story about that.
Yeah, well, it was a slow start to a particular hurricane season about 10 years ago. And so the Weather Channel had this idea. It's like, well, why don't you go stand in the wind? We'll show people what it's like to stand in the wind.
Right.
And I'm like, what kind of wind? A Cat 5 hurricane. Is there a place I can do that? Yes, Virginia Tech. They have a hurricane wind tunnel where they test, wind loads on things and stuff like that. So I decided to go up to Virginia Tech. Mike Bettis had already did this several years, and he got to 133 miles an hour. Now listen, I'm not just standing there like this. I have to be strapped in. But I want you guys to see what it's like to go up to a Cat 5 and stronger, and what happens to me when I'm standing in this hurricane.
And why people should leave, right? This proves
Yes.
why.
Why you have to
He's getting ready
reinforce
to
your
show
house.
you why people should get out of the way. So let's hear it.
Let's show it.
Usually by this time of year, you see on storm tracker Jim Cantore being blasted by a hurricane on a coastline somewhere, but that hasn't been the case yet this season. So Jim went indoors to test the raw power of the wind. I'm inside the Virginia Tech wind tunnel where wind speeds can get as high as 190 miles per hour. We're not going to go that high today, but we're going to demonstrate the power of wind by going through tropical storm, Category 1, all the way through 5 winds to see how much force actually builds up on me and how much I can actually take. The strongest winds I've ever stood in, probably between 80 and about 95 miles per hour. After that, without a harness like this, there's no way I could stand in the wind. Let me be honest with you, I was a little apprehensive at first. I mean, when you start thinking about Cat 5 winds, and then I started envisioning the destruction that they cause, I'm like, I must be losing mine. So here we are now, strong tropical storm force at about 71 miles per hour. We're almost at minimal hurricane. I can feel my skin start to vibrate. That was just amazing to watch your skin wave like that. I've never seen anything like it. Here we are, minimal hurricane force. Look what happened. All right, I start going for a ride. All right, here we are at 80. I can't lean into it now. Look at my mouth. See what's happening? Think about the strongest that I've ever stood in at about 90 miles per hour. Wow. We're at 100. Nobody is standing at 125 miles an hour. So any reporter that says that, it's not happening. Mike Bettis came here and he got to 133.
And I think we just made the record there.
So that gave me something to shoot for. And I thought I could get there and certainly go past that.
33, 34, 35. When he passed Mike's record at 133, and that's a Category 4.
At 135, it's like you can't really take a breath of air because there's just so much force even on your mouth. I mean, you could tell just by the way my skin was flapping.
Wow.
When we got to 158.6, my ears had just popped. You can't hear anything. I can definitely feel my skin on my neck and my lips. I thought, at any instant, I'm about to go airborne.
We've never had anybody go that fast before. I was nervous watching it. In fact, I was kind of egging the tunnel operator on to do it a little bit quicker so we would be through it faster.
I'm actually shocked that I got to 158.6. I really wanted to go to 175, but they cut me off. That 5? Woo! The Virginia Tech Wind Tunnel is a worldwide center for acoustic and aerodynamic testing. They also research flows around aircraft and marine vehicles. I'm Matt Sampson, the Weather Channel.
Yeah, so that was a fun day in the office, right? Yeah, that was a fun day in the office. But it's kind of amazing when you get up that high with wind you know, how you all of a sudden, there's so much pressure on you.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, to be honest with you, I would like to go back and try and see if I could get to 185, which is the max in that thing. You know, just because you say you can do it.
Yeah. But it does.
Yeah, but it's amazing the pressure that's on you, because you feel like you're gonna faint. It feels like there's like a ton on you.
I really have, I mean, I love that they have that to show, because obviously you wouldn't want to do that, but it kind of takes away the thought that many of you probably had, like we had, why does he do it? And when I talked to him about it, and you said, you know, you tell people, and you tell people, and you tell people, and they just don't listen. Some people think, oh, I'm gonna ride it out, right?
So this is a great story here. This kind of bridges this. You guys remember Craig Fugate, right? He was in the Obama administration. He was the FEMA administrator. He was the director for Florida. And Craig was always like, Jim, what are you doing? We're trying to get people out of harm's way. You're out there standing there. And we kind of had a little bit of this going on back then. And I said, Craig, here's the deal. If I can show people what it's like in the worst of this, they can leave and they can watch it on television from a safe location. And I can show them just how bad it is. Or if we got a dud, we got a dud, right? But after that, we kind of had a newfound respect for each other. And I mean, he hated it at first, but after a while, he kind of understood.
Because you're also the one that's giving, many of us sit at the Emergency Operations Center in Tallahassee, and you're the one giving us information that we need because you're brave enough to stand out there without
Well, brave is not the word that's always used, but that's I'll take it. I'll take it. Yeah, so Ian, which is fresh in everybody's memory, starting Clearwater, went to Gordon. We'll talk about logistics in a moment.
Yeah.
But the fact is that's the only time I ever felt like I was about to go airborne. There were over 100-mile-an-hour gusts in that eye wall. And you know, there was one time I was coming away from my shot to get out of it. And if there wasn't a pole there, a flag pole there, or whatever, the street sign, and I didn't grab onto it, I would have been airborne. I don't even know where I would have landed.
So that brings us to the logistics, because I know Jay Johnson is here, and you know, we've had a chance to talk to Jay. And some of you probably don't even know this, because I didn't realize it till just now. Jay's over there in Matlacha in Fort Myers area, and we're approaching 2 years, right? 2 years.
Right.
And Matlacha looks today just like it looked the day after the storm. And he has his family's restaurant there, and so we're talking about logistics. And so what does the Weather Channel, what do they do to start building the logistics of how to position you? And then how do you decide where you're going to go? Because last week I thought you would be coming to Florida, so I texted you, and you said, I'm headed to South Carolina. And I was thinking, what, Florida doesn't need anything?
No, I would never do that to the state I love so much, Florida. But what happened is that we saw this forecast for what would have been a state record, like maybe even potentially doubling the state record of rainfall in South Carolina. And in Charleston, nonetheless, it floods with a daily thunderstorm.
Yeah.
So they're like, Jim, you got to go to Charleston. This verifies.
Yeah.
Now, it didn't verify, and they did a tremendous job with the mayor putting a curfew out and closing down streets that normally flood. That's the good news. You almost know where to avoid people to be.
Right.
And so they shut everything down, and we had 0 water rescues in the city of Charleston. 0. All right? Now, the day before yesterday, they had a huge thunderstorm, and they flooded in Charleston. Okay? It had nothing to do with Debbie or anything like that, but that's how, you know, it is in Charleston. The stuff that's unpredictable or comes up when you don't know it, you can't plan for it, that's a disaster.
So logistically, then they put you where, one, that made sense once you explained it, that we may have something world record here.
Yeah, that's the one. But typically what happens at the Weather Channel is the war room opens up.
Okay.
And this is where, you know, the powers that be decide where they want the team. So we have 3 meteorologists that brief the executive producers and the president of programming and things like that. And then they decide to scatter the teams. A lot of times you'll have 2 teams in one location. Sometimes we have to spread out if it's a wide cone in a lot of different locations. Like with Florida and South Carolina, it's not just one spot. It's not just one and done. So we had to kind of follow this thing all the way up through Virginia. And I'm lucky I get to pick where I want to go. Problem is picking is not easy because you have to, realize that your team is coming with you and those lives are now in your hand, all right? Are you gonna have protection for your cameraman? Because I can stand out there in the middle of it, but if he's getting, whaled as well with wind and water, we're gonna lose the camera, and that's it. And these days, unlike when Katrina was around, we don't have satellite dishes anymore. That's usually aftermath stuff when comms go down. But you have this little thing called a live view, which is like a backpack that puts out an audio and visual HD shot. Where now we're not doing a shot every 15 minutes and then coming down when the wind's at 60 miles an hour. We are live through the entire eye wall. So now it's a show, now it's a presentation. And it's because of the technology that's allowed us to do that. But, they move teams around, they try and have two in one location so you can continue the story, 12 hours on, 12 hours off. Sometimes you're the only crew there, like I was the only crew in Charleston. So sometimes that's double duty, you do the morning, then you do the evening. Yeah, so we're the little engine that could. We don't have a huge network behind us. There's not going to be 20 people out there. There's not going to be people getting food. There's not going to be people looking for your position for your live shot. So we're doing that, me and my producer and my cameraman. That's the team. And my hat's off to you guys because you're our biggest asset. When you take the time to feed us and open up a hotel when you close it down and it's going to get the crap kicked out of it, I cannot tell you how much that helps because there are some locations that are better than others.
Yeah.
All right. And of course, when we had Ian, I started in Clearwater and then Mid-Mountain we got in Punta Gorda. So you had to completely change and realign all these logistics. You had to start from scratch. And that made it very difficult.
You told me a story that resonated during Michael, which still to this day terrifies me to think about it because it came in Finland at 140.
Right. That's the worst case scenario she's talking about. A storm that is developing and accelerating upon landfall. That's the worst case scenario. And that's the kind of stuff that you get in the late season. Because usually it's a big mid-latitude system that picks these tropical systems up and shoves them in.
So Stephanie Abrams, who's
my partner
now, you told the story, you tell them about, again, that logistics. She positioned herself in Mexico Beach.
Yeah, she had ground zero, which is, we all, are in this together, we're all on the same team. But, there's a little bit of, one-upmanship if whoever's at the right location. Sometimes I can't be in the worst place. And it just works out that way. We got a spot, we can't really move now, the roads are shut down, everything's done. So Steph just happened to get ground zero in Mexico Beach for Michael. And Dennis calls me on my phone and he goes, Jim, I'm really nervous about Stephanie. She's very nervous about being in Mexico Beach. Well, can you help me out here? So I said, all right, how am I going to do this? I can't just call her. So I just said it on the air. I said, hey, Steph, look, I just want you to know, you and your team are ready to go in Mexico Beach and take it. But if you guys, for one moment, don't feel comfortable, pack everybody up, come on over here to Panama City, because we're going to be on the west side of the storm, and we were west enough to actually be out of the worst part of the western eye wall. So just come over here. We'll broadcast the thing and we'll go through it together.
And she did.
And she did. And she did. So that's the thing about working at the Weather Channel. They're like, listen, you don't have to go out there and kill yourselves. If you're not comfortable in a situation, then doggone it, don't do it.
Yeah, and thank goodness she did, because Mexico Beach had absolutely nothing left.
She is very happy about this.
She is.
I can tell you that right now. And the rest of her team. Because like I said, those lives are in your hands essentially because you are a meteorologist. You know what's going to happen. You know what's happening here. And of course, as all this is going on, we're going from Cat 4 to Cat 5. And it could have been stronger if we hadn't run out of the Gulf of Mexico, in my opinion.
So what is your favorite storm to cover?
My favorite storm to cover are actually winter storms. Think about this. Nobody gets hurt. It's usually fun. You go out and make a snowman. The kids get the day off from school. Growing up in New England, Vermont, that's where I got a chance to see all that firsthand. There's just something wonderful about the snow.
So how many times, I didn't even know there was such a thing as a thunder snow.
Oh, yes.
So
Oh,
how many
yes.
strikes raining?
So thunder snow is simply, so you get this dynamic storm, right? You get this rising air motion going on in the storm. Warm air from the water, the ocean, is being pulled over the top of that cold air where it has enough room to fall through it and obviously have snowflakes. So it's either snow to rain back to sleet, or you've got snowflakes that fall through the whole layer. But either way, you can get thunderstorms with that process. And it's not summer, but it's a very similar process that it all occurs. And, you know, it's supposed to be really rare, all right? But I've actually had 6 episodes in my career where it's been live television. 3 in Chicago, 1 Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, Worcester, Massachusetts, and Plymouth, Mass. Those are the 6 episodes. My favorite one was Plymouth, Mass. And I'll tell you the backstory after you watch my reaction. Check it out. Oh, yes! 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 We got it, baby! We got it! We got it! Woo! Woo! We got it! Yes! Listen to that! Listen to that! Oh, baby! Oh, again, that's a twofer! That's a twofer, baby! Yes! Yes! Again! That's a 3! You gotta be kidding me! You gotta be kidding me! And there's another one! That's number... You gotta be kidding me! Well, you can have your $500 million jackpot in Powerball or whatever the heck it was, but I'll take this, baby. 4 lightning strikes, 4 episodes of thunder snow. I can hear thunder, so we had another one. So we actually had 5 strikes, 5 thunder. This is just a total change. Literally within an hour. Was that another one? Was that? Oh my goodness, dude, that's number 6. You gotta be kidding me. Yeah, so that was a fun day at the office too. You know, but 6 episodes within that one episode. Okay, like I told you the different cities that I've seen it. But here's this backstory. It's always a backstory, right? So I was that was February 15th, 2015. That's the year Boston had over 100 inches of snow. I was there all the time. People were asking me if I wanted to buy their condominiums. I mean, that's how much I was in Boston. It was crazy. It was an absolutely crazy winter. And so we were just hunkered down up there at the wharf. It was just so beautiful. Beautiful hotel, great places to eat. We got the North End right around the corner. Italian food every night when we wanted it. And they're like, well, Jimmy, why don't you get down to Plymouth? Because we think the storm's going to be a little bit stronger. And I'm like, oh, what's the difference between 50 and 55 miles an hour? So I kind of bellyached about it for a little bit. And then, so Reynolds Wolf took my position in Boston, and we went down to Plymouth, which is south of Boston, okay? And so here I am, at about 5:08 in the morning, I see Reynolds get lightning and thunder, and I'm like, oh my God, I freaked out. So I was at the lowest of lows. If you look at my face in that video, it's all covered with snow because I just went flat down. I'm just shaking my head like, no, he got it. How can he get it? I wanted it. I'm the thunder snow king. God. I mean, come on. So after it happened to me, I just went ballistic. It was the lowest of lows to the highest of highs. And then it happened again, and it happened again.
6 times.
6 times.
Yeah.
So that's the punishment.
So we're getting to the point now that we've got some extra time. If you want to do some Q&A from the audience, this is it's early, but they're not normally a shy crowd. So you've got.
Well, you guys listen. If you ate and drank what I ate and drank last night, you probably moved a little slow too. So again, it's all good. Trust me. But I do want to tell you that you're a part of a very well-oiled machine in the state. You know, I know the governor. I know Kevin. Okay, I know Jimmy Petronis. They care about getting you back up and running. So you have that mindset and mentality behind you. It's not always going to work out perfect, all right? Because you still got to deal with insurance, unfortunately. But I know that that's the issue. And so you can bank on that, and that you're a part of the best and most well-oiled machine out there.
As
So
well
be
as
thankful for that.
I mean, they've been.
We're all on the same team.
Yeah.
We're all on the same team in this.
Yeah.
And here's what I want you to think about. So we've got Ernesto. Bermuda's going to have some problems with that, by the way. They got hurricane warnings out right now. Let's just say that this week's over. We start next week. That's Ernesto's number 5, right? So we have now, if we're going to get to the 25 named storms that are forecast, you've got the 2 weeks left, and then 4 and 4. That's 10 weeks. So if we're going to get 20 more storms in 10 weeks, that's 2 a week. Okay? At some point in there, we're probably going to go hyperactive, where there's going to be 3 or 4 or 5 of them out there. Who knows? Okay? I mean, there's only so much the basin can hold on its own. But my biggest fear is something where, you've got these things starting to line up in the conga line, and they're moving west, and nothing is going to push them away. And we have something that comes into the Gulf of Florida, and then something else 24 hours later comes up into the Outer Banks or New Jersey or something like that. That's my biggest fear, along with late season storms.
Yeah, he's still concerned about it to move to vacation to November.
I did. I did this yesterday, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
I was supposed to go on vacation in mid-October. But I just said, let's just go a month later in case. That doesn't mean November's shutting down, and when I go on vacation, there's going to be no hurricanes, because I do think we're going to have a late season. I think we're going to go, especially if we're going to get these numbers, into October, into November, before things, get a little bit more spaced out.
Yeah. Well, let's hope that...
I'm wrong. Let's hope I'm wrong. And we blow the forecast of 25.
Let's hope that. So, let's talk about some Q&A. Staff's got the microphones?
Yeah, ask away, guys.
We can't see very well, so you might have to just take... There we go.
Jim, how are you? My name's Kyle Green. You've come to my restaurant a couple times, with Jensen Beach, Kyle G's, and you love our pineapple.
Oh, Kyle, geez, oh my gosh, yeah, love you guys.
So it's good to see you. So I brought...
Oh, you did. The pineapple vodka, oh my gosh. So, I have a great story for you. Before we got a chance to move from Dorian, my cameraman, his name's Brad Reynolds, he got a hold of this. And he drank the whole damn thing. I mean, I couldn't believe it. So we found him passed out by the pool. It's a true story. So you got to take it easy with this stuff, but boy, is it good. Thanks. Great to see you. There's all these stories. Maybe I can break into this out of the pool today, Carol. Just saying.
That's great.
I bet you'll have a real good flight if you take that.
I won't need wings. Come on, we need more questions. I see it way in the back of hand. I can't tell who it is.
Yeah, ask away.
Hi, Jim.
Hey.
Curious to hear how social media and people uploading their own videos has impacted or complemented your work.
I really love, that's a great question. I really love Twitter for us. And here's why, because it just gets the word out. Especially with tornadoes, it's like, tornado on the ground. You can look at a radar, you can see a couplet, you can say, wow, that looks impressive on radar. But then you see it, this big wedge or cone. And that's a whole different animal. That changes your tone as a broadcaster and how you deliver the message. You show that video too. This is what you have to prepare for. This thing is staying on the ground now for miles and miles and miles, and time and time and time. So those are the kind of things you have to prepare for. But I really love that for our enterprise. And it also, if somebody says, oh, I'm going to get some likes and some clicks, they put out an old video of a tornado that was around the same area or even wasn't, it will self-correct. You'd be surprised how fast it self-corrects.
And to that point, unfortunately, John Horn, our chairman, had something major at his restaurant going on, so he left this morning. But when the storm was coming to Sarasota,
oh, Debbie?
yeah,
Okay.
they were blowing my phone up from Mike Quillen and John Horn that literally they had pulled old videos showing Sarasota flooded, and they didn't have the flood. So he said, guess how many people are in my restaurants today? 0, because of not having good press. So how do we combat that?
Well, at the beginning of this, you saw what happens when I come to town. So I'm no better than the bad old video. But, I mean, somebody just has to put it out there that's trustworthy. And I have seen the National Weather Service do that with old tornado videos. So, maybe that's going to be something that came from an authoritative stance, or, your arena. Say, listen, this is old video, this is not happening every year.
Well,
But one of the things I will tell you about our company is yes, here it comes, here's what you're gonna get, but a lot of times we know what you're facing. So to be able to say, this storm is gonna just brush the Outer Banks, or just brush the Panhandle, and everything's gonna be open for business by the weekend, right? So we have that in the back of our minds. We're not trying to shut you down or scare everybody away. And personally, I can only speak for myself, I am always thinking of when I can say, hey, you'll be able to come back.
right.
Or if you have a vacation this weekend, it should be fine.
Yeah, you did that last week. I was watching you as it went up to South Carolina. And you.
Yes, I talked about when we should be fine by the weekend.
And you showed the taverns, and I saw that you talked a little bit about, there's not a lot of people here, but we'll be good by the weekend, and I thought, well,
And it's funny because a lady pointed that out to me on Twitter. She goes, or Instagram, she direct messaged me. And she goes, oh, and by the way, even the flood we had yesterday, this is bad now. We've gone a week because of Debbie with nobody here. Now we got this flood, which is going to close us down for 2 days. A lot of people lost what they had out in the market, in the city market in Charleston. So I get it, guys.
responsible.
Peak season, and you go without a couple of weeks of business, and that's a horrible thing. We get that, trust me.
And we appreciate that.
Great question.
Good question, yeah. There we are.
Historically, hurricane seasons ebb and flow,
Yes.
but yet I feel like the last 5 years or so, there's a perception that it's staying intense. Do you have thoughts on, are we just going through historical ups and downs, or are we definitely shifting towards more active seasons moving forward?
So two things give us strength in hurricanes: warm water and light shear, which is what blows the storm. So hurricanes don't like to be tilted; they like to be straight up, so that they can develop more rapidly. And so last year, even though we had El Nino, it's these warm waters. This is uncharted territory. We've never seen this before. So even in an El Nino year where you're supposed to have less storms, we had a busy season. We had an above average season because the water's so doggone warm. So we're in uncharted territory there. So now we go into this fall and winter with La Nina, which is light winds, okay, light shear that I was talking about. And of course the water still is warm, if not warmer, in some parts of the basin. So we're kind of just waiting here for this hyperactive part of the season. But what we also don't know is there's so much warm water out there, it's actually just stabilizing the lower layers of the atmosphere. You don't have as much low, so you have higher pressure over that water and not as much low pressure to get these thunderstorms started, which is the embryo of a hurricane. So like I said, we're learning. We're learning as we go. But I hope it is what I just said. And we have a below average season, or one that was over forecast, because the water was too warm.
Interesting.
But once we get the storms, that warm water can only energize the system, should everything else be perfect. And I also know it's going to lengthen the season.
Topher.
Go
There it
ahead.
is.
Go ahead.
Thanks for being here. I have a question regarding the La Nina. Historically speaking, is it true that there are usually colder winters following a La Nina, and do you think that it would continue this year? I'm asking for your Groundhog Day early.
Yeah, I would push that question to the groundhog for sure. Typically across the northern plains are cold. You also have more severe weather across the south. El Nino is more severe weather for Florida typically, but it's just been so doggone warm. We really, even with those 3 La Ninas that we had before this El Nino, we didn't really have a super cold winter. And if you're on the northeast coast, I haven't even covered a nor'easter. I can't even remember when the last. Mike Trout. Mike Trout is a baseball player. Is a buddy of mine. He's a total weather geek. He blows up my phone when there's any chance of snow over the winter in the northeast. And he's like, Jim, I'm dying up here. I want a storm. I'm ready to go cover a storm. And so, who knows? Who knows what the winter will bring? I haven't seen any winter forecasts yet, but usually a pretty good storm track across the northern plains into the northeast. But I mean, we'll just have to see when we get there.
So, Jim, I carry this really strange title called Certified Business Resiliency Manager in Florida, where no one will listen to me, right? I try, God prepared, do what have you. Based on these last few comments, is there any chance that climate change is all fake?
Fake?
Yeah, because people won't listen.
Here's my deal on climate change. The climate is changing, the earth is warming, there's no question about it. It's always ebbed and flowed, there's always been natural variability in the earth cycle. What I can't tell you with precision is what our role in that is. I do believe there's a role, I just don't know how much. I think people are underestimating the natural variability. But I wasn't around with the dinosaurs, and I wasn't around during the Ice Age, so I don't know how fast we came in and out of that. But if you just look at a satellite picture, let's say in the fall and the winter, over North America, and you see all the big city lights, and there's just lights everywhere. You can almost pick out the formation of North America. It's hard to think that there's not an influence or an impact there if you're pumping CO2 into the atmosphere. But I can't say that there is too. That's just my personal feeling. I'm not a doomsdayer, but to mitigate and to build in the right places and to build smart, to build up, because a warmer planet does mean melting ice and water rise. So we have to be smart about how we go forward.
Thanks.
But a hoax it is not. We are absolutely 100% warm.
So
Thank you.
with that, I want to do a personal shout out to you. Thank you for everything that you do. This industry needs you, loves you, and appreciates everything that you do. We hope to have you back. We knew it was Russian roulette to try to get you hurricane season, but
Yeah, thank you, Ernesto, for turning.
It worked. But I just want to thank you. So please give a round of applause.
How about that Category 5 presentation from Jim Cantore?
Yeah.
I'll take a sip of that pineapple vodka, by the way. Don't leave too quickly. Have just enough time to get a cup of coffee, maybe a soft drink or two, a Coca-Cola, and head to our breakout sessions, okay? Enjoy the breakouts, learn something new, take it home, put it to work, and make some money and help people out, okay? Enjoy your breakouts. We'll see you for our keynote speaker, our fourth quarter presentation at about 12:30.